Hi, hello team, it's me, Monique. Welcome to the cauldron. Today, let's talk about some books that I do not feel like have gotten nearly enough love from the booktube community, and I'm saying that as a newbie who have watched a severe amount of booktube over the last year. Like a lot. And since some of these books are releases from 2019, I would have thought that I would have heard them maybe mentioned more, but there is hype books and there are books that are like way more than other ones, and I think we should listen to the soft little voices, including my own. So let's jump to it. I have a couple of books, mainly in the fantasy because that is what I read. I have a middle grade book, I have a couple of young adult books, and I have a couple of adult fantasy, which I adore. So let's jump to it. First up, we got The Hallow Kingdom by Claire B. Dunkel. This is a middle grade book. It is the first in a trilogy. It follows two sisters who are growing up in, like, I would guess around 1800 England, Scotland, around there. And they end up being orphaned and they get sent to this place called Hallow Hill. And Hallow Hill has a myth of young women disappearing, and they have been for thousands and thousands of years. And no one knows why until, coming from the left, Merrick, who is a magician and like an older man, and no one quite knows where he's come from. He's very enigmatic, he's like energetic, he's not actually beautiful, but he's just this weird interesting character who like steps into these sisters' lives, and he says he is a king of what? Hallow Hill. There are goblins, they are weird, there is magic, there is hate to love. It is so strange and I love it dearly. This book is unlike anything I have ever read, and I highly recommend it to middle grade to young adult readers, but also anyone who would just like a really fast little weird read. It has a weird take of goblins, it has a weird take of that kingdom of magic and almost like fae, but without the beautiful elfin boy. I'm looking at you, the cruel prince, which I adore. You're also weird, and this is where my love started. I love me a goblin king. Please read The Hallow Kingdom. Next up, we got The Bone Houses by Emily Lloyd Jones. This is the Owl Crate edition that came out sometime in October, I believe, or September. I don't understand why I haven't heard more people talk about this. It is beautiful. It is a standalone. It is fantasy, but soft fantasy. It's gorgeous. I love it so much. We follow Rin, who is a grave digger, and she is trying to keep her family's head above water in this little village where the dead don't tend to stay dead. So there's lots of work for a grave digger, but it's also sort of like this, like, our world, but like with the last of magic is still sort of attached. And in from the right this time comes a boy that no one quite knows where he's from. Neither does he. He's a map maker. He is trying to figure out how to make his own way in the world. And Rin and him sort of end up going on this complicated little adventure with a zombie goat. And it's so beautiful. It's so much more than magic. It's a really intense, complex look at letting go and grief and like soft love, and it's so beautiful, and I highly recommend that you pick it up because I love it so much. Next up is We Hunt the Flame by Hafsa Faisal. I am not sure if I said that correctly. I'm really sorry if I didn't. This book is young adult fantasy to its core, but it is also gloriously written. Like, I literally love it so much. There are some quotes in here that I would tattoo on my body and live with forever. We're following Saphira, who is a hunter who dresses up almost like a man to hunt in the forest where no one else is really allowed around her village. And then we have Nasir, who is the crown prince and also an assassin. And there's an island, and it is weird, and this forest that is surrounding them is continuously growing. It's very dark, everything is like dying and everything is out of balance, and it sort of ends up coming down to these two to try and save the world. And it is glorious. I'm also annoyed about it. Like, there are some points where I'm like, it was so beautiful, and then the ending is rushed, and I'm really annoyed with some of the parts that weren't quite like tied up in the end. Like, I love a good cliffhanger, but I don't like plot points that are just like left to drift into the wind. So I'm hoping that We Free the Stars, which is the sequel, which I believe is coming out in 2020, if not 21, I'm hoping for 20, will explain some of this. And also, just these characters are so alive, and I die for a woman who dresses up like a man. We got a little extra. It's The Last Nam Sour by Kristen Cigarelli. You may or may not have heard me talk about this already, because the last book in the series is called the Iskari series. The last book came out last year. It's called The Sky Weaver. This is the first book. It follows Asha, who is a dragon slayer. She is also a princess. She is atoning for the crimes that she committed as a child that basically burned half of her city down. And basically she is also promised to a man who she does not like very much, to say the least. But going up to the wedding, her father says that if Asha can kill the first dragon, Korsu, he will let her have her freedom. And there are some intense revelations in here. All of the characters feel so real. It's a very debut. Sometimes it goes a little bit too repetitive and some things are told to you rather than shown. But Cigarelli has grown so much over the last like many years while she's been writing this series, and I love and I cannot wait to see where she's going from this. And also Asha is my absolute favorite, and I say this as someone who is like a deep love of dragons, and I love a dragon slayer. So this book has some surprises, and I would highly recommend it, not just because it is absolutely stunning, but also because the world building is gorgeous. Yes. Next up, in between adult and young adult, we have The Daughter of the Forest by Juliet Marillier. This book is based on the fairy tale The Seven Swans, and it is classic and beautiful and set in this Celtic English environment, Anglo-Saxons, Vikings. There is war, there is betrayal, and then there is magic, and it's glorious. If you are not familiar with the fairy tale of the Seven Swans, I don't want to ruin it for you, but basically Sorcia is the seventh daughter of the seventh son and has 6 older brothers and no mother. So classic fairy tale setting, and there comes in a stepmother who ends up cursing her brothers, and the only one who can lift the curse is Sorcia. And it is beautiful and heart-wrenching and so glorious. There are, however, triggers for sexual assault and torture and trauma, so I would look up that if that is something that you are not okay with reading about. But this book is so good, and I do not hear nearly enough people talk about this series, or even Juliet Marillier, who is like a class A fantasy person. The only one who I have heard talk about this series before is Ashlinn from A Frolic Through Fiction, who I will link down below. I really enjoy her videos. And honestly, I just want everyone to speak about this more so I can speak to other people about it. Also, I want more books based on this fairy tale because it's like my fucking favorite. Last but not least, we got some adult fantasy. And I don't know if it's just because I've completely missed the buzz with this one, or whether people were actually speaking about it at one point, but it is. It is The Discovery of Witches by Deborah Agnes. This is an adult fantasy, magical realism book with vampires and witches and demons, and it's so good and so intense, and I put it off for so long reading it, and then I read it, and it's a trilogy, and there is another 2 books, and I'm just like sold. It's fucking great. It's brilliant. It's everything that I want to read about witches. It's all about alchemy. It's historic. It's so good. We follow Diana, who is a reluctant witch. She has left magic behind and is studying in Oxford, and she is studying alchemy, and she is trying to like finish up her studies. And steps Matthew, who is a vampire, and there are some deep dark secrets in this series, and they're intense, and they're all fat bastards, and I love each of them equally. They are so fucking good. Okay, that is it for today, team. Thank you so much for watching. If you watched all of this, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you for trying, and I'm proud of you for living. If you need to hear that today. If you enjoyed this, give it a big thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and tell me what you enjoyed about this video, if you enjoyed it, or if you read any of these books. There's so much hype out there in the world, and I feel like we should share it a little bit, sprinkle it on some few books that deserve just as much love as those big series. So I adore and love each of these books. And also, I'm just like, every book deserves love, and every book needs to find their niche and their readers, and I just really like talking about them, so let's leave it at that. Thank you so much for watching, team. I will see you all very soon. There are links to all my social media down below, and that's it today. Goodbye. Hey, hi, hello, Monique. I'm Monique. What?